She is the anchor of the show, so that's kind of fun to play. Right?
Yeah.
Did you ever have any ambition to, when you play these roles, say, hey, this would have been a fun job. Maybe I could take over Good Morning America?
You know what? That's really funny. I actually, you mentioned I went to Juilliard. I also applied for international relations communications. That's what I was going to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like, I loved that. I love international news. I imagine like maybe not being a BBC anchor, but like being on the ground.
Right, yeah.
This is true. This is a true story. But you know, some of my teachers were like, you should apply to these acting schools too because you love it, and it just didn't seem like a real job, like a, you know, something I could actually do. And then when I got accepted, I was like, let's keep doing this thing until they say no.
Wow. So
That's.
And now you're really...
That's the MO. No, I'm still just going to keep doing it until they say no. And even then, they might say no, and I'll probably just keep doing
exactly.
it.
Now is the time for transparency.
That's great to hear, truly. In the interest of transparency, was I hired for a permanent anchor position because I am Black?
Obviously not, no.
But you see my confusion, right? Because you used a clumsy, racist comment to complain about my hiring. Did you think I wasn't qualified? Was that it?
Well, you know, in point of fact, at that time, I did not believe you were qualified. Let me rephrase. You were untested.
Well, that's not exactly true. Were you aware that I was Q tested more than any other person who has ever anchored the show? That I had to have 8 different approval meetings in addition to the strategy discussions about my hair.
I was unaware.
And I still found time to spend weekends with 4 former anchors developing my on-air skills.
Well, now that is impressive. It's very admirable.
That aside, I don't understand why you used a racialized image when discussing me. Is that how you see me? Is that how you see us?
Welcome to the Actors Side today. Well, she is an Emmy nominee for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Dramatic Series for the morning show. This is Nicole Beharie. Hi, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on the Actors Side, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. I've watched this quite
really?
a bit, yes. So it's nice to actually do it.
Okay, you're here where we make the magic.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for watching. I love the character that of Chris that has come in this season. You've just joined the show in the 3rd season.
Yeah, that was, thank you for saying that as well.
Yeah.
That was kind of a big undertaking for me because it's such an amazing ensemble and like
you're
such a
walking in the
well-oiled
middle of it
show.
all.
Yeah, in the middle of it. And also kind of like the tone is transitioning and I didn't know what that meant necessarily, you know, like as an actor and as a character.
Yeah.
I was sort of given a little bit of information about her being brighter and from a different generation. But then I didn't know that we were going to take like such a swift dark turn.
Nobody did. As a complete fan of this show from day one, this season just exploded in ways that we didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's hard to do in this day and age as well, because we've kind of seen everything. So that's Mimi, that's Charlotte, that's the morning
Charlotte
show
is the
team.
new
Stout.
executive producer.
Exactly. We're actually the first. We're both freshmen on season 3, so we have like a special bond because of that. We're sort of like you and I. We came in, we conquered. We did our best, and we were really just sort of trying to stay afloat in a way, you know, because I'm getting to play with some of the most incredible, well-loved actors on the planet, like not even just in America. So that's kind of a big deal, you know?
That is a big deal.
It
Does that
is.
make you nervous? Do you walk in there?
There's an element of excitement. I don't know. I think I define, you know, it's about perspective. Like nerves can also just be excitement.
Yeah.
You know, just what you call it. So I think it's excitement, you know, when you get the little butterflies before walking out on stage or something like that. I think it's a part of it.
Yeah. And, you know, as we sit here and talk, the Olympics have been going on and things, and your character is a former Olympian. actually.
Yes. A
And
former.
what was she in the Olympics?
She was a runner, 400
runner.
and 400 and 100. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you do any research?
Yes, I worked with. Look, I have wonky knees. That was actually, to be completely honest, I was begging, like, can I please be a gymnast? Because I'm petite, and I've actually been a gymnast. Like when I was younger, I liked to dance, and yeah, I wanted to do something else, and they were like, no, we've already, I was new. I was like, it is what it is. I was like,
they made
okay,
you a runner.
I got to run. But that's also good for me. Like I needed that challenge, and
Right.
sort of there was a gap between Christina and I, and I had to sort of fill it. And then the research just kind of makes you like go into the mindset of an athlete or an Olympian, specifically like gold medal winning Olympian. And so watching that, well, that was season 3, but even now watching the Olympics, I'm like, whew, what it takes to be someone who wants to be on record as the best, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
There's something inside that's like very different from what I have. You know what I mean? Like I love what I do, but I'm never sort of like I'm the best at anything. So just putting that in it, like into my being, and imagining having that as my driving factor, I think affected the way that I played Christina.
I find that fascinating as an actor, that you go in and you do all that work, because we're not seeing.
You don't see any of that. You don't really
see it in the show.
Yeah.
So that's all you using that internally.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird things that I've done. We all have personal little tics, little things like you're like touching your hand.
Oh, I do
and
this all the time.
But I remember watching like documentaries about one of my favorites that really influenced Christina, and like the pivotal scene that we had in the show was I watched a documentary called King in the Wilderness about Dr. Martin Luther King.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of a different perspective of how hard it was for him, actually, because we always see this just like heroic portrayal, but we never get to see the anxiety, like what that meant physiologically and mentally on this like man in his 20s and early 30s.
Right.
It wasn't easy. We only see the victorious part of it, you know what I mean? But there were moments in the documentary where he had like a little shake, or he had soothing gestures, and I used some of those, so it's just like little things that you steal from, your heroes.
It's amazing. I think the scene you're probably referring to is the episode White Noise, which was the one you submitted for the Emmys,
Yes,
I believe,
yes.
right? Because it's amazing.
Thank you.
And you're
Thank you.
working opposite, in its particular scene, Holland Taylor, the great
great
Holland Taylor.
The great.
Such a, I watch 2.5 Men every night in reruns on Channel 5. She
Do you?
is so good in everything.
Everything.
She does.
She's doing a play right now too at Lincoln Center.
Wow.
And she's unstoppable. She keeps, and I don't know, she was just so generous. That was a gift, again, working with someone like that I'm a fan of. But also, you sometimes meet your heroes or people that you're a fan of, and you're like, eh. In this case, yeah.
Which heroes have you met that you?
I'm not going to tell you that. What question is that?
Come on. All
No.
right. This scene with Holland, she plays the head of the.
Sybil, yeah.
Yeah, and something gets revealed in some emails or something.
Yes.
That she had used the term Aunt Jemima in referring to you coming in, that basically you weren't all that in her opinion.
I love all that. Yeah, I mean, it was actually about pay equity, and that was a part of it, the sort of less the racist language. But it was really about pay equity, and that like other people were not paying.
You're taking over
not
for
just
Reese,
yeah,
as the anchor on
exactly.
the morning show. Reese
Yeah.
Witherspoon. And you're not getting anywhere near them.
Not getting anywhere near, and then the other people as well behind the scenes, crew and some of the administrative people on our fake show behind the show weren't making the money that they should have been. So that was like a big to do, and it was a hack. It was a hack.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and then we had the opportunity to address one another. Yeah.
And have her sit there for an interview with you on camera talking about this, which the subtext of it was incredible, the back and forth, as she tries to weasel her way out of it, and you won't let her, which I thought was really interesting.
The writers, I mean, it was Charlotte Stout and Joshua Allen for that White Noise episode, and I think that they really tapped into things, some undercurrents, like you said, subtexts
Right.
that are happening in America. What's actually kind of jarring is I saw, what was it, last week, the National Association of Black Journalists.
Oh my God,
with
I
Trump.
watched that whole thing.
Doesn't it feel a little bit like what we did?
It's unbelievable. Well,
Some of the
was-
same lines, actually.
Really?
Yes, I saw it and was like, whoa, this is weird. And we shot this in what, 22?
Yeah.
So very weird, but they're tapped into, like, there's undercurrents, there's subtext that are real, you know.
Yeah.
So that was eerie and but like not in a welcome good way.
No, it was definitely
It was very, like-
weird in a weird way.
Yeah.
But you know, there were three female black journalists
Journalists.
interviewing Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he's going. Don't ask me why, but he's going off in that Kamala Harris is not really black. She just decided to be black at
Yeah,
some point. That
yeah.
It was crazy. But the ABC journalist,
Yeah.
Rachel Scott, was just unbelievable.
She stayed on
went
it,
for
yeah.
it right away. The one from Fox News,
She was easier, a little easier on
she
him.
was much. It
Well,
was,
they had a relationship. They
Yeah.
had a little bit of a rapport from
So
the
that was just interesting to see that, and I would imagine as an actor, you're talking about something. You know, you shot this in 22.
two.
That's what this show's about. I was talking to one of your co-stars, Mark Duplass, about this. That this show is struggling always to
Oof.
remain very current, and sometimes it all collides with what's going
It's
on.
magic. I mean, but again, eerie and weird and surreal. Like we actually don't want it to collide in a dystopian way. Like, please. But yeah, I think that they're masters at that. You know,
Yeah.
kind of having to predict what might be happening,
Exactly.
and also with like a certain amount of levity,
Yeah.
so that it's like palatable and digestible.
That's always there. Now you're in an Emmy category. Congratulations on this because
you.
you're in an Emmy category
Oh my
that's
gosh.
incredible. You have 10 of the actors from the morning show this season nominated, which just says a lot about what your fellow actors think of this show.
That's crazy.
And what the opportunities it presents to actors. But in your category, you're up against
Okay, come on now.
3 of your co-stars.
But I mean, it's honestly an honor. You know, I honestly can't believe it because I'm new. Like I said, I just jumped in the pool and I was
Yeah.
like, am I doing the thing? Is it happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels really good, and it's just wonderful. You do this to connect and to tell stories, and
Exactly.
if that happened,
Yeah.
I can't wish for anything more, especially when it's peers. When your
Right.
peers are like, we see
That's what
we
means
see you.
something,
It
right?
really does. It actually really does.
You've won awards before, right out of the box, for American Violet. And of course, Miss Juneteenth,
Yes.
which I loved. I saw at the
Thank
time
you.
that it came out, and you won the Gotham Award for
Thank
that
you.
right at the beginning of the season. That was so exciting. It was
Thank you. That was wild. I wasn't expecting that.
And a nomination for Indie Spirit as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but again, like, to sort of lean on Christina, and like what I was saying earlier, I think you run your own race. Like, you don't really compete with people. You have your goal
Right.
and your focus, and so I don't ever, like, this is great to be invited to the party and to get to do this with you, but it's never something that's in my mind ever.
No, you don't do it for awards.
I'd never even think of it. Like my team, when they called me and they were like, "You were nominated," I was like, "That's actually not funny. Don't make jokes like that." Like, I was like, "What?"
You didn't believe it?
I didn't believe them. No, I'm serious. I was like, I don't.
That wouldn't be funny if your people
It
were
wouldn't be
calling you-
funny, but I have dark relationships with people that I love. So
I was reading your background. Juilliard, Shakespeare.
in Oxford
in
and England.
London, and all of that. You're
Thank
what they
you.
call a serious actress.
I don't know if that's true. I think I'm less serious than I used to be, if
Is
that
that
makes
right?
sense. I think you go to school and you learn like how to use yourself, and
Yeah.
and then once it's almost like I love jazz standards. You know, they're like normal, and then you learn the rules.
Right.
My Funny Valentine, Sweet Comic Valentine, and then you can play within it.
You riff.
And you start to riff and you
Yeah.
find other notes and chords and harmonies. Seriously.
And you do that
And so
without-
now you can do that as you get sort of like older and you sort of know what that is. Or
Right.
also, you know, production permitting. You know what I mean? Because everybody's not going to want that.
Yeah.
But, you know, fortunately, in this case, I got to play I feel like quite a bit for a new person on such a big production. There were some moments throughout the season that were sort of like unscripted, where I was just like, let's say this or let's do this, and they would like roll for a second or two. I didn't get a ton of takes, but you know, I'd get to do little fun things, and some of it made it. Like there's this moment, I think in White Noise, where Chris is like, "Come on, girl," and she's like looking in the mirror, and that was just me messing around, like trying to figure. And I was like, "Oh, they kept it." It's just such a nice feeling because it felt like her, but it wasn't scripted. You know, so it's things that you're discovering yourself.
I hear this show's going to deal with AI, and I'm interested in what you think about that as an actor, because that was a huge issue recently with the SAG strike, all about actors feeling like it's coming in to take over our jobs, especially in voiceover and things like that. And but what do you think about that? What's happening in your profession in terms of that?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. No. I've already seen scenes that have been done almost entirely by AI, and they look pretty good. There's always something a little weird, like a little off, but I think that that's probably going to get ironed out in the next decade or so.
Yeah.
So I find it really scary because, you know, you can sort of copy an individual or also take aspects of individuals. I think it'll also affect hair, makeup, and crew, lighting, all, because ultimately those people will no longer be necessary, right? If they can change them in post or, so I think it's scary for all of us. We should take it very seriously. There's some beautiful parts to it as well, but I'm more afraid of what we, you know, all the job loss.
Yeah. Well, I use it sometimes for transcribing.
Oh.
And just go on to things there, but it gets all the words wrong, and then I have to go back and listen to it again. So I have to keep correcting my.
Tell that to everyone in my text thread. Same thing. I have the same thing. I'm like, oh God, that's terrible. I thought, yeah.
But she is the anchor of the show, so that's kind of fun to play. Right?
Yeah.
Did you ever have any ambition to, when you play these roles, say, hey, this would have been a fun job. Maybe I could take over Good Morning America.
You know what? That's really funny. I actually, you mentioned I went to Juilliard. I also applied for international relations communications. That's what I was going to do.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So it was like, I loved that. I love international news. I imagine like maybe not being a BBC anchor, but like being on the ground.
Right. Yeah.
This is true. This is a true story. But you know, some of my teachers were like, you should apply to these acting schools too because you love it, and it just didn't seem like a real job, like a, you know, something I could actually do. And then when I got accepted, I was like, let's keep doing this thing until they say no.
Wow. So.
That's.
And now you're really.
That's the MO. No, I'm still just going to keep doing it until they say no. And even then, they might say no, and I'll probably just keep doing
exactly.
it.
You know, boy, when I look at this cast, you mentioned the cast, you know, and working with these people.
Yeah, we've got some amazing people. Whew.
It's a constant regeneration of everything going
on. Yeah, which is, I think the turnover in that industry is true as well.
Yeah.
Like it's reflective of the world, and it keeps things interesting, I think, for the audience and the writers and the actors.
All of that. So I wanted to ask you about a couple of films you made. You worked with Chadwick Boseman.
I did.
Yeah, you played his wife, Jackie Robinson's wife, in a great movie, 42.
Thank you.
Really good.
I loved working on that.
Yeah. What was that like working with Chad?
Man, he's so dedicated. I'm sure anyone who's ever worked with him, or obviously we see what he's done. Yeah. So dedicated, so gentle. We had like this thing where I like at the end of the shoot, I told him he ruined it for any like prospective actual husbands because he was like the best husband ever. And we had a lot of shorthand, which was really lovely. But I'd never seen. There was a moment where we were, and I'll like never forget it. We were doing this. We were shooting in like 100-degree weather, and he had to like run around. It's really beautiful. Brian Helgeland captured him running around all the bases, and he was sort of stopping and thanking all of the extras because it was so hot, and we were shooting in like Alabama, you know, and also in period clothes, so it's like wool, 3 layers, you know, people are dying. And he would just think about everybody. Meanwhile, I think the weight that he had on his shoulders, I personally think I would be so focused and trying not to be distracted, but it wasn't a distraction. It felt like the character, but also very much him to like take care of everybody. So that's how he was, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah, and he was crazy good. Even I don't want to like take the whole thing about Chad, but there's a film he did about what was it? James Brown, where he completely
Love it. Step up.
I can't remember. Get on up. It's Get on up. It's a song. Get on up.
Get on up. That was it.
Where he completely transformed, and I was like, I know you. I didn't know you could do that, which is just, that's so
nice.
nice.
Like back to back. He played
Thurgood Marshall. Yeah.
He did James Brown.
Yeah.
He did Jackie Robinson. He did these iconic black figures in our history.
Yeah, historic
and just
figures.
made them his own in those. That must have been, it
was wonderful to watch. I'm sure it does something for you as well. When you embody that, then you can sort of step into another kind of greatness, which is what we saw.
Right in our Deadline studio here, right around the walls here, we have a beautiful photo.
Is there a photo of him?
Oh my God, it takes up the
I'll
whole
have to go
wall
look at it.
of him. But that was. I do want to ask you about Miss Juneteenth, because that made a real splash when that came out, and it brought, for one thing, made everyone aware of Juneteenth. Which
I don't know if our film made everyone
aware
of Juneteenth.
I'm telling you.
It was
from that point on, it seemed like, and then they made it a
national holiday. Holiday. I think it was a perfect storm. I got very lucky because it was during some of the racial awareness and like some of the uprisings and conversations around race in the country. And, people started talking about that. And we just happened to release the movie at that time. And we were having the conversation about it. And then there was a conversation about turning it into a national holiday and why that would be important. So I feel like we had a hand in it, but definitely not because of us. I think a lot of, definitely not because of us. But there is this strange thing that happens every year, June 19th, where there's like a poster of my character, Turquoise, with the crown on and the Miss Juneteenth.
Right, you're somebody, a beauty queen who's doing this for her daughter.
Doing it for her daughter.
Yeah.
And it's a real pageant that happens every year, and it's very much about the community and history and tradition. But this poster pops up every year in my social media or whatever. So it is kind of strange to be like associated, with such a powerful moment in time, with like people's emancipation and freedom.
Juneteenth is going to get this popping right up.
It's wild. It's wild because they may never even see the movie, but there's like a poster of me so that's really interesting. I think, thank you, whoever y'all are.
But I really want to know what you're doing on season 4, and I'm going to have to find out some way because I can't wait.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it.
I'll bet it is.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's doing really well, not just with the public out there, which is watching it, but the industry is watching now too. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's going to be fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on the Actors Side.